we prayed that all 4 of them are still alive.
All 4 are missing?
Yes, they're all missing, and you know, it's been 4 o'clock yesterday morning that we were told that, you know, they were on the phone with Aiden's dad, who they own the house where they were. It was a very nice house, no longer there. And Aiden said, hey, you know, I've got to go. I got to help Ella and Reese. So he gave the phone to Joyce Catherine. Joyce Catherine said, they just got washed away. And then a few seconds later, the phone went dead, and that's all we know. The place where all the survivors are brought, and we were hoping that we would hear our daughter and friends' names called, but they never did call. So we said, this morning we're going to come out and try to find them ourselves.
I mean, you're walking through this mess, hoping for a miracle.
Amen. Keep the faith. That's all we can do.
Well, this is the best vantage point we have given everything that's going on in this area. But what you see across the river there is the Camp Mystic campground. And here on the left, you'll see a number of cabins, and you can see a lot of debris. As we stand here, and I'm not sure that you can make this out on the video images, but the water must have gotten very high, because even in some places, the rooftops look a little uneven to me from this vantage point, but you can see windows open where presumably, you know, children were trying to crawl out of those windows to get away from the floodwaters as it was all rising here. And then if we move our way down, this was the lower part. In talking to a number of people over the last 24 hours who've been evacuated from this area, it was the younger children at the campground, and my understanding right now is that it was the younger children who were in these lower elevation cabins that closest to the water. And the water looks very calm now, but look at just how high the water levels have got at some point here, because you can also see back in this larger building on the campground site in the distance there, Erica, that's obviously a big gathering hall. I can't tell if it's a dining hall or a place where large groups gather, but you know, the wall on this side completely blown out. It's hard to see on the other side, but there's a good amount of destruction. I just saw some video images from someone who was capturing some video here at the scene, and there was a number of cars stacked on top of each other on the other side of those buildings. So this is where it all unfolded early Friday morning. You can imagine here, it's very remote away from the city of Hunt, about 6 or 7 miles down the road, a greater distance. So very, very dark here, not a lot of light. One camp counselor told me that as the rainstorm was coming in, the lightning and the thunder, that kids were waking up. They were telling her that they were afraid of what was happening. And you can understand, as the water is rushing downstream, clearly being pushed out of its banks up along that hill, going up into those cabins on that distance, and all those cabins line up against the hillside over there. So it's hard to imagine, as the water's rushing this way, you know, how do you escape all of that unless you can get to the back of the building and then kind of start making your way to higher ground on the backside of that hill. And for a 7, 8, 9-year-old at 3 o'clock in the morning, as thunder and lightning, you can imagine just how horrific all of that scene must have been unfolding. And we're seeing a number of people continuing the search efforts. If you look there, there's like a little dam here that kind of falls about 10 feet or so down to the next level of the river. We're seeing teams of people still going through the hillside there on the bank of the river, looking, and those are the search and rescue operations. As we've made our way here, Erica, about 6 or 7 miles down the road from Hunt, this area is lined with first responders, all sorts of different agencies combing through the area, trying to do whatever they can to, you know, as they've mentioned in the press conference, the longer this goes on, obviously the hope for finding people still alive dwindles, but there are still a lot of missing people, and those loved ones want to find out where they are.
They just got washed away, and then a few seconds later, the phone went dead, and that's all we know.
There was a man from Beaumont who we heard just over the ridge here calling out for Joyce Catherine. It's his daughter. He raced here yesterday and has been searching for her. His daughter was here with several friends staying at a cabin just up the river from here, and he has not heard from her, his 21-year-old daughter, since before the storms came through the area. I'm so sorry to meet you like this.
I know. We pray that all four of them are still alive.
All four are missing?
Yes, they're all missing, and you know, it's been 4 o'clock yesterday morning that we were told that, you know, they were on the phone with Aiden's dad, who they own the house where they were. It was a very nice house, no longer there. And Aiden said, hey, you know, I've got to go. I got to help Ella and Reese. So he gave the phone to Joyce Catherine. Joyce Catherine said, they just got washed away. And then a few seconds later, the phone went dead, and that's all we know. So we presume that she got washed away as well. And if you go back to where the house is, it's not a good sign. And that's why I was telling you, my son and I are walking, and I thought it was a mannequin. It was a little boy, about 8 or 10 years old, and he was dead. So we just...
You saw that this morning?
Yes. So we're just walking and doing the same thing we were doing. Look, you know, when we stumbled across him. But hopefully we can find our children, our daughter and her friends, alive. So, anyway, I ask you if you would pray, and whoever watches this thing, pray.
And I know, Pamela, this is also personal for you. You have a deep and important connection to Camp Mystic yourself as a former camper.
I do. It's surreal coming back here 30 years later. I was a 10-year-old little camper here, full of so much hope and joy. It's a magical place, and I remember the excitement and anticipation of coming to Camp Mystic. And the parent was telling me the same from her little girls who came this year. They just dropped them off on Sunday. And for me, coming back, I'm overwhelmed with emotion, and I'm overwhelmed with memories. And I can't get over looking at those cabins right next to the Guadalupe River. That river was the source of so much joy and fun for us, Erica. We would spend hours and hours in that river. There was this thing called the blob, which was like this inflated balloon type thing that we would jump on, and then the person at the end would jump off into the water, and it was so much fun. And we'd go looking for dinosaur fossils, and that was where we spent so much of our time at camp. That is what we loved. And to think that that same river is the source of this devastation, it's just hard to wrap my head around. And it's such a magical place that now all these girls, these sweet young campers who had to evacuate, and their families, so much innocence has now been lost. Yeah. And you just can't help but think about them and pray for them, and just hope that more are found alive.
Our goal is to rescue those in peril and find those who are lost.
Officials in the Texas Hill Country are calling rescue and recovery efforts in the wake of historic flooding a marathon. Authorities say more than 850 people have been brought to safety after the raging Guadalupe River rose more than 20 feet in less than 2 hours Friday.
At present, there are 11 Camp Mystic campers unaccounted for, along with one counselor.
I got to see firsthand many of the body bags, and it breaks my heart. And we didn't know. We know we get rains. We know the river rises. But nobody saw this coming.
Local, state, and federal resources have been deployed to Central Texas to assist. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says they've deployed Coast Guard assets for round-the-clock search and rescue.
That will be deployed so that the search and rescue efforts don't stop even when it does get dark at night.
Officials warn they expect the number of deaths to rise. The Kerr County Sheriff says several adult and child victims have yet to be identified. In Hunt, Texas, I'm Lee Waldman.
I wake up in the morning around 4 a.m. maybe, and I just hear screaming coming out from outside. And then eventually later on, I find out that someone's cabin had flooded, and they all went outside. People came into our cabin because their cabin had flooded. These are the same people I was talking about that were screaming outside. And I just remember, so behind our cabin, there was a back road. There was like a little road behind there. And I saw like at least 60 people walking on it, and it was just crazy.
Those babies. Those babies. If it was my babies, I'd want somebody looking, so that's why I'm here. I couldn't sit back. I mean, it ate at me all day yesterday and seeing everything. I got a buddy that's down in Conroe, he's a rescue swimmer, and he was down here, matter of fact, right here yesterday, and he told me, you know, he was telling me about, you know, finding some of the girls, and I had to come.
And everybody's just trying their hardest. Doesn't matter what age, background, whatever, everybody's out here, like you said, pulling up sticks and digging through piles, and it's tough seeing people's belongings 30 foot up in a tree. Well, I hope that we do find them. Do I necessarily want that person to be me who finds them? Maybe not. I'm not that brave, but I hope we do find them, because I can't imagine not knowing what happened.
I couldn't sit back. I mean, it ate at me all day yesterday and seeing everything. I got a buddy that's down in Conroe, he's a rescue swimmer, and he was down here, matter of fact, right here yesterday, and he told me, you know, he was telling me about, you know, finding some of the girls, and I had to come. Those babies. Those babies. If it was my babies, I'd want somebody looking, so that's why I'm here.
We're on the shores of the Guadalupe River at the very moment. This right here, this is what looks like a lake or a pond, is not normally there.
People are very much centered on Camp Mystic for good reason, with all of these children that are unaccounted for. But you want folks to understand what?
This is our community. Sorry, I'm going to get a little choked up here. I have a 7-year-old daughter. And so it's those people who have kids at camp, you can't imagine the pain they're going through. But what I feel like as I was watching the news last night and yesterday a little bit, what I felt like was missing is people forgot that this is our community as well. This is our home. Ingram, Hunt, Kerrville, this is our everything. And a lot of our everything has been taken. It is destroyed. It is something that we don't even recognize. Yes, those kids' life matters so much, but so do the hundreds of people that are missing right now, that were here on vacation, that live here, and that were sleeping in the middle of the night. This whole devastation goes 20 miles that way, another 60 miles that way. We'll be looking for bodies for, I couldn't tell you till when.
Do you think that the federal government needs to hire back any of the meteorologists who were fired in the last few months?
I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't. I would think not. This was a thing that happened in seconds. Nobody expected it. Nobody saw it. Very talented people are there, and they didn't see it. It's, I guess they said, once in 100 years they've never seen anything like this. So I wouldn't, I mean, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing. But no, I wouldn't say that, no. We've been in touch with Governor Abbott, and very close to Governor Abbott, and everybody in Texas. Kristi Noem has, as you know, been there, and will continue to be there. And we're working very close with representatives from Texas, and it's a horrible thing that took place. Absolutely horrible. So we say God bless all of the people that have gone through so much, and God bless the state of Texas. It's an incredible place.